I want to have this conversation with you all tonight about how fathers may lead with money and feel like, hey, I've done my part in terms of contributing to the family. I can check out now. There's nothing else for me to do. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. And I'm going to respond to this commenter, and I want to, continue on the conversation that we were having about fathers and daughters. She says a lot of men lead with money as their contribution to the family, and they continue to do so without realizing that they have failed to nurture a true connection with anyone in the home. And a lot of men, and again, I want to preface this by saying this is not all men. Not all men are bad. This isn't meant to be bashing, but more of a conversation. There are men who feel like, hey, it is my job to be the provider, and really the mother's job to raise the kids and take care of the home, and it's rooted in misogyny. If you grew up watching Good Times, James would tell Florida, kitchen in the bedroom, Florida, and then he expected her to kind of do all of the rearing that came with the kids, and he would kind of come in and be the disciplinarian. So there's a little bit more there, but essentially a lot of that thinking is rooted in misogyny. That's a woman's job to nurture the kids, take care of the kids, look after them when it comes to schooling, talk about their problems. I married this woman, or I married this person because I wanted them to do that. I didn't really want to do all that. I like the idea of carrying on the family name, but I really don't want to do anything else. I just want to pay and then come home and check out and, do what I want to do and kind of get to keep my life the way I keep it, and trust and know that I've got someone who's going to be the maid, who's going to be the secretary, the babysitter, going to be my sex slave, and kind of, I don't really have to do anything else. And that is really rooted in misogyny, because he feels like, hey, I've done my part and what I'm supposed to do. Emotional labor, that's not really my thing. I'm just here to pay for everybody's way. So don't look for me to show up in any other kind of way with the kids and things like that, because I can't do that. I don't want to do that. And they actually become angry with having to do that. I can't tell you how many men I've worked with that bring that to work. They bring that dialogue where they're talking about the shit I got to do at home, or the wife wants me to, or that kind of stuff. There's a lot of men that I worked with that would freely have those conversations and not like what they had to do, but they would also readily turn over their checks and say, I just give her money, and then she kind of pays for, whatever. And I've done my part. I went to work, I did my job, I did my 9 to 5. I've taken care of my family, and not realizing that people require much more than that. You can't just clock in and clock out from being a daddy, meaning that, hey, I just turn over my check and then that's all. It's not a job like your regular 9 to 5. So a lot of men weren't taught how to be a father, how to show up and be a father. A lot of men weren't taught how to be in relationships and taught how to nurture and be emotionally available for their wives and their children and their daughter. And their daughter a lot of times is just a mini-me of the wife and mother. So she's a miniature representation of what the mom is. And so his expectation for her is to, wherever mom slacks off, you need to then pick up and become the mother of the house or the woman of the house, and sort of pick up and do all of those duties. So a lot of women and girls are groomed from very early on how to be a wife and a mother. Wife and a mother meaning a babysitter, sex slave, a tutor, a cook, a maid, all that kind of good stuff. So they're trained on how to do that from a very early age. And there are a lot of men who are given a pass and allowed to check out from their families, even from a societal standpoint, there's relatively little consequences. What's the most that's going to happen if he decides to say goodbye? He might get put on child support and things like that, but society will still say that a man is a good man and is taking care of his children. And that's the power of having a penis, is that I can lay down, make children, but I can get up and walk away at any time. Men do it every day. And a lot of times they're doing it, even if they stay, a lot of times mothers are single mothers, or children are kind of left to their own devices. There are many marriages in where you have both a mother and a father, or whatever the case may be, right? Where a child can say, or even an adult child can say, I don't really know my father. I don't know him. I know who he is, but I don't know him. We never had conversations. He was just in and out and did the bare minimum. He gave me money and then that was that. But I don't know what his favorite color is. I don't know what his favorite restaurant is. I don't know what happened in his life when he was 16. I don't even know the kind of relationships that he has with his parents, or what his life was like when he was growing up. We don't talk. He doesn't talk to me. He doesn't even know me either. I'm a whole person with feelings, with a whole life that he knows nothing about, other than when I tell him I need money and he'll throw money at the problem, but he doesn't want to be bothered otherwise. Those are men, fathers that are emotionally immature. Those are men that feel like, hey, I don't want to be involved. I think a really good show that gives really good insight into, and I don't think it's talked about enough, it gives insight to both mother and dad. Actually, there's a couple of different shows. One is Wife Swap. 2 is Trading Spouses, and I think 3 is a really good one because it shows from early childhood on up, is Super Nanny. Oh boy, Super Nanny was a great example where you could see the parent-child dynamics, and you could just see how fathers would check out from their children. People wouldn't do the bare minimum. They would put their kids on an iPad. They wouldn't clean. They wouldn't read to their children. And children were itching, and these are like toddlers, itching to have attention. And as somebody who I used to go to San Francisco. I used to live and work and, go to school in San Francisco. I went to grad school there. And if you go, my school, I was fortunate, it was right across the street from Fisherman's Wharf. And I would go, there's some really nice restaurants, at least there used to be, I haven't been there in a while, really nice restaurants over there in Fisherman's Wharf where you can sit out and you could eat, and you could look at the sea lions and things like that, but it's expensive. And so you would go and you see all these families and things like that are, touring San Francisco, and they're paying all this money to eat at this restaurant on the water. And it'd be amazing to me how I would, just sort of people watch sometimes. And, you would see families that would sit there the entire time with little kids, and they're not talking to each other. Like little kids is on an iPad, on a phone, or everybody's just like in their own world where they don't want to engage, or they're just not engaged with each other. They're just there. And that would be a phenomenon that I would see all the time at Fisherman's Wharf. But anyhow, let me know what your thoughts are about this. Love the conversation we're having. TikTok is, we're becoming US based in a day, so I don't know what that means for the algorithm. So I really love it if we keep up with each other. If you want to listen to my podcast, it's called A Date with Darkness. And make sure you sign up for my newsletter. Everything is linked in the bio. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much.